In the quiet town of Stillwater, Minnesota, Pamela Cahanes was born in 1958 into the warmth of a tight-knit family on a dairy farm. The second youngest of 8 siblings, Pamela grew up surrounded by love and the simple pleasures of farm life. As she matured, Pamela felt a yearning for adventure beyond the boundaries of her familiar surroundings. At the age of 25, fueled by a desire to explore the world and serve her country, she made a life-altering decision to join the United States Navy. Pamela's journey led her from the heart of Minnesota to Central Florida, where she embarked on a new chapter at the Orlando Naval Training Center in May 1984. Her upbringing on the family farm had instilled in her a strong work ethic and a sense of discipline that proved invaluable during the rigorous Navy training. Pamela successfully completed 2 months of training, and on August 3, 1984, she proudly graduated from the Naval Training Center. However, the celebration of her achievement was short-lived. The next day, on August 4, 1984, Pamela's promising future took a tragic turn. She was last seen at the Fashion Square Mall in Orlando, where she purchased makeup and toiletries from a Kmart. A receipt discovered later by investigators bore the timestamp of 3:18 p.m., providing a crucial piece of evidence regarding her last known activities. Later that evening, Pamela was observed walking near the Naval Training Center with an unidentified man between 6:30 and 7 p.m. Their presence at Club Mariner, a bar on the Navy base, was documented. The details surrounding the unidentified man remained a puzzle for investigators, adding complexity to the unfolding tragedy. Pamela Cahanes' body was discovered lifeless and partially nude in front of a vacant home on Riverview Avenue in Sanford on August 5, 1984. The brutal nature of her end suggested that her life had been taken elsewhere before being callously discarded. The investigation took a harrowing turn when a generic receipt, void of any identifying information, was found at the crime scene. This mysterious receipt indicated a purchase at 1:09 a.m., believed to be from a Chinese restaurant. Pamela Cahanes' untimely demise shook her family to the core, leaving them grappling with grief and unanswered questions for 34 long years. The initial investigation proved challenging, with authorities struggling to identify a suspect or discern the motive behind the heinous crime. The geographical proximity to the Naval Training Center led investigators to believe that the perpetrator might have had connections to the military base. Despite diligent efforts by the Seminole County Sheriff's Department, crucial leads were elusive, and the case remained unsolved for decades. The passage of time did not diminish the determination of Pamela's family to seek justice for their beloved sister. In their quest for closure, they endured false leads and moments of despair, yet their hope endured. A breakthrough finally came in the form of advancements in forensic technology. In a stunning turn of events, a detective from the Seminole County Sheriff's Department contacted Pamela's family, arranging an in-person meeting in Minnesota. The family, anticipating routine updates on the case, gathered, unaware of the monumental revelation that awaited them. The investigator showed the family a video capturing the arrest of a suspect, Thomas Lewis Garner. The 59-year-old dental hygienist who had worked at the Orlando Naval Training Center concurrently with Pamela Cahanes was taken into custody on a first-degree homicide charge. The arrest unfolded in Jacksonville, where Garner had been residing for several years. The arrest marked the beginning of a new chapter for Pamela Cahanes' family, but it also opened a floodgate of questions. The motive behind the crime remained undisclosed, and the circumstances linking Garner and Pamela within the naval training context remained unclear. Garner, having appeared in court, faced the gravity of the charges against him, with the potential for spending the remainder of his life behind bars. The breakthrough in the case was achieved through the innovative use of DNA analysis and genealogy databases. Investigators, utilizing the public genealogy database GED Match, constructed a DNA family tree, leading them to Thomas Lewis Garner. A subsequent surveillance of Garner and the acquisition of a personal item enabled detectives to match his DNA with evidence preserved from the crime scene in 1984. Thomas Garner's arrest in 2019 marked a turning point in the cold investigation and brought a renewed sense of hope to the Cahanes family after enduring decades of uncertainty. During the trial, Thomas Garner took the stand in his own defense. He admitted to the possibility of a casual, intimate encounter with Pamela several years prior, but vehemently denied any involvement in her brutal demise. Garner's defense strategy aimed to cast doubt on the prosecution's case, presenting an alternative narrative that sought to distance him from the crime. In a long-awaited conclusion to the cold case, a jury delivered a verdict of guilt against Thomas Garner. Following the conviction, Garner was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, marking the end of a protracted legal process that spanned nearly 4 decades. Pamela Cahanes' sister, representing the family, read an impactful statement in open court immediately after the verdict was announced. She expressed a mix of emotions, emphasizing the hope that Garner would reflect on the time he spent free while her family endured the pain of loss. The sentencing, though, providing a sense of closure, could never fully erase the years of suffering the family endured in the absence of justice. Detectives later disclosed that Thomas Garner is under investigation as a potential suspect in another cold case. His DNA reportedly matched evidence found at the scene of a 1982 slaying in Honolulu involving a 25-year-old woman. While Garner has not been formally charged in this case, prosecutors hinted at the possibility that he may have additional victims. Speculation arose that Garner could be a serial offender, prompting further scrutiny into his potential involvement in other unsolved cases. The arrest and conviction of Thomas Lewis Garner in connection with Pamela Cahanes' violent case is a testament to the resilience of those seeking justice and the evolving landscape of forensic technology. Pamela's story, which began with a young woman's pursuit of adventure and service to her country, took a tragic turn, leaving an indelible mark on her family. The tragic case is a reminder that, even after the passage of time, dedicated investigators and advancements in forensic science can bring resolution to the most perplexing cold cases. Pamela Cahanes' legacy may yet become a symbol of resilience and determination in the face of darkness. Sophie Sergie, born in 1973, hailed from the small and remote village of Pitkas Point in western Alaska, situated on the Yukon River. Pitkas Point, with a population of less than 200 people at the time, was predominantly inhabited by indigenous people, and Sophie belonged to the Yupik tribe. Growing up in this close-knit community, Sophie's childhood was shaped by the unique challenges and beauties of rural Alaska. The village, marked by its isolation and small population, instilled in Sophie a sense of community, family values, and a connection to her indigenous roots. Life in Pitcairn's Point was likely characterized by the close bond between community members who shared a common way of life in the remote Alaskan wilderness. Sophie was described as a wonderful daughter and an exemplary individual. Her character was marked by qualities such as brightness, hard work, and a strong determination to pursue her dreams. In the eyes of the community, she became a role model, particularly for the younger generation. Sophie's aspirations reached beyond the boundaries of her small village, and she harbored dreams of achieving more significant accomplishments in her life. Despite the challenges posed by the remote location and limited resources, Sophie's dedication to education shone through. She managed to secure a full scholarship to the University of Alaska, a prestigious opportunity that required her to relocate approximately 500 miles away from her hometown. This move represented a significant transition from the tight-knit indigenous community to the bustling and culturally diverse environment of the university. Sophie's academic pursuits at the university were centered around marine biology, a field that reflected her fascination with the wonders of the ocean. As Sophie excelled in her studies, she faced a critical juncture in her life that prompted her to take a temporary hiatus from college. The reasons for this decision were twofold. Firstly, Sophie felt a profound sense of responsibility towards her family, especially her aging mother, and wanted to return home to provide care and support. Secondly, she recognized the financial constraints associated with her educational journey and decided to work and save money for necessary dental surgery. During her time away from the university, Sophie took on the role of a teacher's assistant at a school in her hometown village. This choice exemplified her commitment to contributing to the community and reflected her strong work ethic. Her decision to take control of her financial situation, working towards saving money for her dental surgery rather than burdening her family, underscored Sophie's independence and sense of responsibility. After completing 2 years of marine biology studies, she intended to re-enroll in college, signifying her unwavering commitment to achieving her academic goals. However, the trajectory of Sophie's life took a tragic turn during a weekend trip to Fairbanks in April 1993. April 25, 1993 started as a seemingly ordinary day filled with routine activities. On this day, Sophie had flown into Fairbanks for a dental appointment. Her plans included staying with her friend Shirley, who was enrolled at the University of Alaska Fairbanks and residing in Bartlett Hall, a dormitory. Sophie went out with friends that evening, enjoying a movie and some food, engaging in activities that mirrored the lives of many college students. The last known photograph of Sophie captured her in a moment of happiness, arms spread as if ready to embrace the world during a sunset-watching excursion. Returning to her friend Shirley's room in Bartlett Hall, Sophie spent the night in a casual setting, watching movies and hanging out with Shirley and her boyfriend Noah. As the night progressed, Sophie went down to the common area for a drink and later decided to have a cigarette. Given the freezing Alaskan temperatures, Shirley suggested that Sophie smoke in the second-floor bathroom to avoid the cold. Sophie agreed, and while she was away, Shirley and Noah decided to leave, leaving a note on the door to inform Sophie. Unbeknownst to them, this decision would inadvertently contribute to the mystery surrounding Sophie's disappearance. The next morning, Shirley, returning to her dorm room, discovered that Sophie had not returned. Concerned and unable to find any sign of her friend, Shirley reported Sophie missing to the police. Simultaneously, Sophie's family, unaware of the tragedy unfolding in Fairbanks, received a call from Sophie's orthodontist reporting her absence from the scheduled appointment. As the day unfolded, a janitor cleaning the second-floor bathroom in Bartlett Hall made a horrifying discovery. Sophie Sergie's body was found in the bathtub, having endured a brutal assault that included binding, gagging, tasering, beating, stabbing, and ultimately a gunshot to the back of her head. The crime scene reflected the heinous nature of the act, with Sophie's pants and underwear pulled down, her sweater and bra pushed up, and her body damp from the running water. The discovery sent shockwaves through the University of Alaska Fairbanks community, prompting an urgent investigation by local authorities. Sophie's brutal slaying, committed in a college dormitory, struck a chord of fear and disbelief, leading to heightened security measures and emotional support services for students. Immediately following the discovery of Sophie's body on April 26, 1993, local police, forensic experts, and detectives descended upon the dormitory to meticulously examine and document every inch of the crime scene. The severity and brutality of the crime demanded a thorough and exhaustive investigation to bring the perpetrator to justice. Authorities collected evidence painstakingly, combing the bathroom tile by tile, securing fingerprints, hair samples, and any potential DNA from the scene. Despite the limitations of forensic technology in 1993, investigators recognized the importance of preserving these samples for future advancements in DNA analysis. Sophie's autopsy revealed no illegal substances or alcohol in her system, further emphasizing the gravity of the crime committed against her. Eyewitness testimonies played a crucial role in piecing together the events leading up to Sophie's end. Two students, Vanessa Allen and Jennifer Roy, would later provide valuable information. Vanessa, who lived in the dormitory during the semester, described feeling uneasy on the night of April 25th as she entered the rarely used East Side bathroom. She noticed a light on in the tub room, an unusual occurrence that raised her suspicions. Vanessa heard disturbing noises likened to firecrackers emanating from the adjacent room. Similarly, Jennifer Roy, a graduating senior, was up late studying on the west side of the dormitory. She heard distinct noises through the shared wall with the other bathroom around 1:30 a.m. on Monday. Jennifer perceived an unidentifiable rustling sound, a loud thud against the wall, and murmuring, speculating that it might involve a male and a female. The culmination of witness testimonies, forensic evidence, and the gruesome details of Sophie's assault prompted an intensified effort to identify and apprehend the perpetrator. The investigation faced challenges due to the transient nature of college campuses, with students leaving for the semester and some never returning. Tracking down individuals for questioning proved difficult, as room assignments often changed and the dormitory roster did not always reflect accurate residency. As investigators conducted interviews and pursued leads, they aimed to reconstruct the timeline of events on the night of the attack, narrowing down the window between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. when Sophie's life was taken. As the years passed, the Sophie Sergie case became a cold case, one that investigators revisited periodically. With the evolution of forensic techniques, especially in DNA analysis, authorities seized the opportunity to reevaluate the evidence. The focus shifted to unlocking the potential of the preserved DNA samples, hoping to identify the person responsible for Sophie's heinous slaying. The breakthrough came in 2018 with advancements in DNA testing capabilities. The preserved samples were subjected to modern DNA analysis, allowing investigators to create a genetic profile of the suspect. This profile could then be compared to DNA databases, increasing the chances of finding a match. The relentless pursuit of justice and the commitment to leveraging emerging forensic technologies were crucial in bringing closure to Sophie's case. Genealogical DNA analysis, a technique that gained prominence in solving cold cases, played a pivotal role. This method involves comparing crime scene DNA with publicly available genetic databases, potentially leading to the identification of familial connections. Genealogical DNA analysis has been instrumental in unmasking suspects in cases that have remained unresolved for decades. The investigation reached a turning point when Stephen Downs, a man residing in Maine, became a prime suspect. Further investigation revealed that, at the time of the violent attack, Downs was attending UAF and residing in the dorm where Sophie's life was taken. Downs, who had denied any connection with Sergie during his 2019 interview, was arrested when his DNA definitively matched the sample collected decades ago on Sergie's body. He was extradited from Maine, where he worked as a nurse. During the trial, prosecutors gathered evidence linking Downs to the crime scene, presenting a compelling case against him. Witnesses such as Vanessa Allen and Jennifer Roy provided crucial testimony, recounting their experiences on the night of the attack and contributing valuable insights into the events that transpired. The trial focused on reconstructing the events leading up to Sophie's untimely demise, relying on the memories of those who were present in Bartlett Hall during that fateful night. The testimony of witnesses, combined with advancements in forensic technology, served as a powerful force in the pursuit of justice for Sophie Sergie and her grieving family. In the end, the trial concluded, and Stephen Downs was sentenced to 75 years in prison for the assault, as well as taking the life of Sophie Sergie. The devastating impact of Sophie's tragic demise lingers even after justice has been served. While closure for her friends and family came after almost 30 years, their lives remain forever altered by the tragic events from 1993. The journey from an unsolved cold case to the arrest and conviction of Stephen H. Downs showcases the transformative role of genetic genealogy in bringing justice to victims and closure to grieving families. Jody Loomis, born on June 5, 1952 in Salt Lake City, Utah, was a vibrant and compassionate individual within her family dynamic. As the middle child positioned between her elder brother John and a younger sister, Jody's upbringing was characterized by love and shared experiences. Standing at a modest 5 foot 2 inches, she defied physical expectations with a robust personality, striking blonde hair, and piercing blue eyes that reflected the beauty of her compassionate soul. Her love for animals and the outdoors further defined her vibrant spirit. In a character-defining moment, Jody confronted hunters callously shooting pigeons, displaying an unyielding adherence to her principles. Her act of kindness, nursing a wounded pigeon back to health, showcased a tender side that contrasted with the tragedy that would ultimately take her life. The evening of August 23, 1972, marked an ordinary bike ride for Jody, headed to visit her horse at a stable 6 miles from her family home in Snohomish County. Around 5:30 p.m., a couple stumbled upon her fighting for her life along a secluded dirt track. The discovery revealed a horrifying scene. Jody, partially nude and critically wounded from a gunshot to the head. Rushed to the hospital by the couple who found her, Jody tragically succumbed to her injuries upon arrival. An autopsy later confirmed the additional horror that she had been assaulted, casting an even darker shadow over the tragedy and the serene town of Bothell. In the aftermath of Jody's case, investigators faced the daunting task of unraveling a crime that would haunt the community for decades. The customary approach involved scrutinizing those closest to the victim. Initial suspicions fell on Jody's fiancé, Jim, who had been living at the Loomis home just before the tragedy. However, alibis quickly exonerated him, placing him at work in the hospital during the unfolding tragedy. The focus then shifted to the Rice family, particularly Ken and his son Alan, who were chopping wood near the crime scene. Despite initial suspicions, the family's proximity did not yield conclusive evidence. Frustration mounted as the investigation stalled for nearly 2 years until a tip injected hope. Information surfaced about a group associated with the Reapers Roadmen biker gang, allegedly boasting about assaulting and taking the life of a young woman. The lead tied back to a .22 caliber pistol, the same caliber as the weapon. However, an FBI ballistics test debunked the connection, leading investigators grappling with the mystery. Fear enveloped the community as young women continued to vanish, prompting concerns of a serial offender. The emergence of this man as a prime suspect intensified the unease. During the initial stages of the investigation, as fear gripped Snohomish County due to a series of disappearances of young women, he emerged as a notorious figure in the region's criminal landscape. He operated in the Pacific Northwest during the same time frame as Jody's slaying, raising concerns about his potential involvement. The geographical proximity of his criminal activities to Snohomish County triggered fears of a connection. While the age and physical characteristics of Jody bore some resemblance to his known victims, the specifics of her case did not align perfectly with his known methods. The fear of a serial offender operating in the area prompted investigators to explore potential links, despite inconsistencies. Decades later, despite the initial focus on this man, investigators concluded that the details of Jody's violent end did not align with his established modus operandi. The absence of concrete evidence linking him to the crime led to a shift in focus, but the case sadly went cold. In a renewed effort to find justice for Jody, the Cold Case Unit from Snohomish County reignited its investigation, leveraging advancements in DNA technology. However, crucial pieces of evidence, including swabs, the victim's underwear, and the bullet, had mysteriously gone missing over the years, presenting a formidable challenge in reconstructing the narrative. A glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source: the left boot that Jody had been wearing at the time of her slaying. In a twist of fate, this seemingly inconspicuous item revealed the presence of male DNA. In 2008, the crime laboratory successfully developed a DNA profile from this crucial piece of evidence, breathing new life into the stagnant investigation. The profile was entered into CODIS, the national DNA database, but no matches were found at the time. Around a decade later, in July 2018, a breakthrough arrived in the form of forensic genealogy. The DNA profile from the sample on the boot was submitted to Parabon Nanolabs, a Virginia-based company specializing in DNA matching. Through a meticulous comparison with a public genealogy database, investigators honed in on potential suspects by identifying matches with family members. The investigation eventually narrowed down to the Miller family, with Terrence Miller emerging as the prime suspect. Terrence Miller, a retired heavy equipment operator residing just miles away from the crime scene, became a person of interest. His troubled past, marked by convictions for lewd conduct in 1968 and assaulting a preteen girl in the 1970s, painted a grim picture. Allegations of abuse against children further intensified the gravity of the accusations. In a meticulously planned operation, undercover police officers discreetly followed Terrence Miller, collecting a discarded coffee cup he left outside a local casino. The DNA profile derived from the cup yielded a chilling revelation. It was an exact match to the male DNA found on Jody's boot. Arrested in April 2019, Terrence Miller, now 78 years old, faced charges related to the assault and demise of Jody Loomis. Despite pleading not guilty to the charges, he faced a trial in late 2020. The courtroom witnessed 2 weeks of intense testimonies and evidence presentations. Tragedy struck one final time on November 9, 2020, just before the jury could deliver a verdict. Terrence Miller took his own life at his home, leaving behind unanswered questions and a community grappling with the abrupt end to a long-awaited trial. Unaware of Terrence's passing, the jury later found him guilty of the charges against him. The irony of the posthumous verdict echoed through the courtroom, symbolizing a form of justice, albeit a bittersweet one. In December 2020, attempts to vacate the guilty verdict failed, closing a chapter that spanned nearly 5 decades. The case of Jody Loomis, with its twists and turns, serves as a sobering reminder of the enduring impact of violent crimes on communities and the tireless efforts of law enforcement to seek justice, even after the passage of many years. While the resolution of the case brought closure to some extent, the scars left by the tragic events of August 23, 1972, will forever linger in the collective memory of Bothell, Washington.